This is the Encoding FRQ, and if we go over it, what we see is that we have a master string. The master string could be any string, and in this case, we have this long string here, where the 0 index of the string is S, the 1 index is 1, and so on as we work our way down. What you'll notice here is that every letter of the alphabet is represented in the master string. That way you could take any message and encode it using this method that they have here. Okay, and an encoded string is defined as a list of string parts. And what is a string part? A string part is defined as the starting index in the master string and its length. So, for example, the example that they have here is a string over eager. It would be made up of a set of string parts, which is starting index and length. So we could do OVE by having the starting index of 37 and the length as 1, 2, 3. Right? So the first string part would be 37, comma 3, which would be encoding the OV and the E. And then the next is we need to look for an R, which they have here, right? And not only do they have R, but they also have E. So the string part, the next string part would be a string part whose starting index would be 14 and whose length would be 2, which is why we have this next string part here, 14 and 2. And they put commas here, parentheses around these, but you want to think of each of these elements in the array as being a string part. And the string part is made up of a starting index and an ending index. A starting index and a length, right? So here's a string part, here's a string part, here's a string part, and here's a string part. And so what they do is they go over the string that you want to encode until they finish all of the letters in the string that you want to encode. Okay. And if the length is possible to be more than 1, then that's great, right? It saves you not the number of string parts that you need to encode the string. But at the very least, you could have 37 and a length of 1. You could have 38 and a length of 1. You could have 9 and a length of 1. And you could basically spell this guy out using the length, the index of the letters with the length of 1, right, at the very minimum. But if possible, you want to be a little bit more efficient and have the length be as long as you can possibly make it. Right? So instead of using 31 and 1, you would want to use 37 and 3, right? So you could be more efficient and have less string parts than you do letters in the string that you want to encode. So that's how that works, and the classes that they give us is the string part class. In the string part class, we have the constructor, which has the start, index, and the length. And what they don't show here, and they note here, is there may be instance variables, constructors, and methods not shown. So there may be instance variables not shown, and of course there's instance variables not shown here, because what the constructor is going to do is it's going to take in the start and the length, and it's going to set the start instance variable equal to the start parameter that's coming into the constructor, and it's going to set the length instance variable equal to the length parameter that's coming into the constructor. Right? Because that's what a string part is. It's composed of a starting index and a length. So those are definitely going to be instance variables to this class. And then we have these two methods. We have getStart, which returns the start, and we got getLength, which returns the length, right, of each string object that calls it. And those are just getters, right? So yeah, so that's the string part class. And then we have the string coder class, which has just a string, a master string. Right? And remember, the master string is not the string that you want to encode. It's the string that we use to encode. It's this long string that includes every letter of the alphabet. Okay. So that's that. And then we have a constructor, which simply takes in the string, sets it equal to the instance variable. We have Decode String, which takes in an array list of string parts and returns the string that it represents. So this is decode. We're taking in the string parts, which is the encoded version of the string, and we're returning the string that it represents. So decode would take in this array list here, and it would return the string over eager. Okay. So yeah, you want to think of this array list of string parts as being the encoded version of the string, and then you want to think of this simple text, the English text, being the decoded version of the string. So that's what decode does. It takes in an array list of string parts and it returns the string that it represents. And then we also have a find part. And what does find part do? It takes in a string. It takes in the string to encode using the master string, and all of the characters in string appear in the master string. Okay, so yeah, definitely that's going to be true, right? And the string length is greater than 0. Okay. And then it returns a string part in the master string that matches the beginning of str. The return string part has at least a length of 1. And so that's definitely true that the return string part has a length of at least 1, because every character in the alphabet is represented in the master string. So at the very least, if you're running string find part using string, you could take the first letter in string str, and you could have where it appears in the master string, like here, if it was Z, you would return 5 and a length of 1, right? Because every letter in the alphabet is represented here in the master string. So what does find part do? It takes in a string and it returns a string part, which is the first letter of string. The first letter of string and the length of the part. So if we ran find part using overeager for the very first time, what it would do is it would find O. Like it's looking like so. If we're thinking about how to code find part, it would look for the first letter in the master string. Doesn't find it. So we're looping through the string, and we're checking for O. It doesn't find it on any of these, right? And it finds it here, right? And then it's gonna check the next letter in the string, the V, and see if it's here, and it doesn't, right? So that's where it's gonna stop. The starting index is 31. The length is 1. And then it would continue looping, right? So then it would come here, check the M, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. It would come here to the O, and it would have the starting index of 37 and the length of 3 after checking all of the letters in overeager to see if they appear following the O and following the V and following the E. It would not, like the following letter in E would be R, which would not match the N. So then this iteration, it would create a string part whose starting index is 37 and whose length is 3. Okay, and so and then once it does that, it's going to continue on down. It's not going to find O anymore. So because it doesn't find O anymore, then it's going to it's going to return the string part that it found that had the max length. So this string part that it found had a length of 1. This string part that it found had a length of 3. So because this one has a longer length, it would return this string part here, which is starting position 37, length 3. Okay. So that is what find part does. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. And then from there we have encode string, which takes in the word overeager, and it turns it into an array list of string parts. Okay, so it takes in this string overeager, and it turns it into this array list here, where each of these elements is a string part with a starting position and length, and then it returns this array list. So that's what encode string does. So now the first thing that it's asking you to do is to write the string coder method decode string. Okay, and so I don't have it, so I'm gonna go ahead and open it up actually. So let me see, dismissal. Oh no, that's not right. I'm sorry, I'm a little unprepared here, so give me a second. I'm gonna grab an answer from the form and encoding. And I think Bryce had a good answer, so I'm going to take his. So go to responses. Go down to Bryce. What is Bryce's last name? Okay, Tobiano. Okay, so yeah, here is part A. And so to decode the string, what we're going to do is we're going to create an empty string, and then we're going to iterate through the parts array list. So what we're doing is we're iterating through this array list that's coming in as an argument to decode. And we're going to take a look at that one first, then that one, then that one, then that one, right? So the first one we're going to look at is this 37. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take from the master string this little string here, which has the starting index 37, length of 3. We're going to take that string and we're going to concatenate it onto the empty string answer. And then once that finishes, then it's going to go to this string part, and it's going to get the string that's represented in the master string at element number 14, length of 2. Is going to take that and it's going to attach it onto the end of the empty string answer, and so on. So we're going to keep on attaching onto the end, right? So that's what we're doing here. We have this for loop that's going through the array list, and we are concatenating onto answer, and we're doing master string dot substring, and we are doing parts dot get I dot get the start. Okay, right? So parts dot get I would be the string part object, and the string part object has a get start and a get length, right? So that's what we're using here. We're taking the string part, this guy, we're getting its starting position, and we're getting its length. So we're getting the start, which is going to be 37 right here. And then the substring, we want to get the end of the string that we want. So we're doing get start plus its length. And if we look at the clear example, we're doing 37. And then for the first argument to substring, and then the second argument to substring would be 37 plus 3, which is the length. So it'd be 38, 39, 40. And so if we do a substring from 37 to 40, it's going to cut out this OVE. And that's what it returns, that OVE. And we are concatenating it onto the end of the empty string. And then it's going to iterate again, and it's going to do the same thing for the next string part. Well, the next string part in the parts array list, right? So it's going to keep doing that, and it's going to do OVE first, then it's going to do RE, concatenate onto the end, so we have OVE RE, and then it's going to do it again, and it's going to get the ER, so it's going to be OVE RE ER, and then finally it's going to do it again, and it's going to get over eager, and then it's going to finish because there's not going to be any more elements in the array list, and it's going to return the over eager string here, right? And that's what decode does, and that looks right. So good job, Bryce. And then we have our part B, which is to write the encode string, and I think that's the end. Yeah. So write the encode string, and the encode string is a little bit more difficult than decode, because to encode we need to lean on the find part method. So you need to kind of understand the find part method in order to code this, or else your life will be a little bit more difficult, because you need to define your own find part method. So yeah, if you didn't understand what find part did, then you would have had to redefine it, not knowing that that's what find part did, and that's not like the easiest task. So and also they say here that you must use the helper method find part to get the full credit. So again, you would have lost probably 1 point or 1.5 points or something if you didn't use find part. Right. So, like one thing that you want to understand is that if they give you a method, right? If they give you one here and you're just thinking like, okay, they're giving me extraneous information, they're giving me information that I don't need, that's not true, right? Every method that they give you is something that you need, right? Something that you could ignore are the constructors, right? You could just say, okay, that's a constructor, that's what it does, whatever. I'm going to ignore that. It's not going to help me in any way. Usually not going to help me in any way. But if they give you a method here, you want to understand what it does because they're going to ask you to use it, and by using it, it's going to make your life easier, right? And so what does find part do? It takes in a string and it finds the first part of that string in the master string, and it returns the string part that it finds. So if we gave it overeager, then it would give us the string part 37 starting point, length 3, right? If we gave it this string here, if you see that, just the REAGER, then it would find it would return back the string part with the starting location of 14 and a length of 2, right here, right, the RE. And then if we gave it the string AGER, then it would return the string part with the starting location of 46 and a length of 2. And then if we gave it the string part ER, it would return the string part with the starting location 9 and the length of 2. So that's what we want to do. Okay, it takes in this string overeager. We want to run it through string part, and then we want to cut out the part in the string that was represented by the string part that was found by find part. So we give it this, it gives us a find part. It gives us a string part that represents OVE. So we want to cut OVE out of the string and then run find part again. And then that's going to return a string part that represents the RE. So we want to cut out the RE from the string and then run it again, give find part AGER, and then we want to do that again, and there's nothing left in this master string, so then we want to stop. So that's how we want to code the encode string. And of course, every time we do that, we want to concatenate the string part onto an array list, and when we finish, then we can return the array list and we have the string encoded. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. Let's go over the code here. So it takes in a string word. What we start with is an empty array list of string parts, right, called answer, and we while loop through, and while the word.length is greater than 0, we continue doing this. Okay, and so why is it while the word length is greater than 0? Because when we first run it, we're going to run it with overeager, and its length is, let's say, 9. And then the next time we run it, we're going to run it with this string right here, the REAGER, and that length is 6. The next time we run it, we're going to run it with this string here, which is AGER, length is 4. Next time we're going to run it with this string here, ER, whose length is 2. And then lastly, we're going to run it, or try to run it, with an empty string, right? And the empty string's length is 0, at which point this while loop should stop, and we're going to return the array list. So let's pretend this word parameter is equal to overeager. The length is like 11, so this is true. It comes in, it finds the part in word. Find part, remember, finds the string part. So it would find the string part OVE right here. Start 37, length 3. And we save that string part here and next. Then this is not necessary here. But then what we're going to do is take the word and get a substring of the word and give it length. So what that's going to do is it's going to give the 3 on the substring. So it's going to be 0. We're going to take this word and run substring, give it the argument length, which is 3. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. And then that's going to return this string here, the REAGER. So then the word is going to be REAGER. Okay. And then from there, oh, and I say this is like not necessary because we could have put this right in here, right? So we could have put this expression as the argument. Okay, so anyways, we cut the word up. We cut off the beginning find part portion off of the word, and then we added the string part that we got up here to our array list. So then at this point, after the first iteration of the while loop, we would have an array list with just this element here. Okay, and then it iterates again. We run find part, but now we're running find part not on over eager. We're running it on this string here, REAGER, and it's going to return this string part here, right? 14 length 2. So length is 2. So then this is again cutting off the RE from the string. We're adding the string part to the array list, and then we're doing it again and again and again and again. And so after that second iteration, it would add this string part object to the array list. Then it would add this string part object to the array list, and that string part object to the array list. And then finally, the word, we would cut the word again, and it would be a length of 0. We would come back up. Word length is equal to 0. That's not true. It would break out of this while loop, and it would return the array list, which is what we want. And so that is encoding, and hopefully my explanation wasn't too ununderstandable. And if you have any questions, you could email me, of course. And actually, what I'm going to have you guys do is, instead of the explanation, just have a present in front of the class. I also want you to create a screenshot video like how I just did, fully explaining the FRQ that you're assigned, and then post it up on YouTube. And then I'm going to create like a Google Sheet where we can post up the explanations so that everybody can benefit from your explanation and they can understand it and go over it whenever they want in the comfort of their own home and the comfort of their own time frame. Right? So that's it. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you when I see you.